Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching part one, the design of the Leonardo Flyer Mark II, and this is going to be part two, the actual start of the construction. I've cut out the balsa wood pieces already, so let's just crack on and get the wings built, and I'm going to alter the tailplane a little bit to make it a little bit lighter as well, look nicer I think. Any comments down below? Brilliant, and give us a thumbs up, and thanks for watching. I'm going to start with the outside edges. I've got two kits made up, two kits of wood. And all I've got to do is work out which piece goes where. Should be obvious. Right. Start by pinning down the first bit. A good way of making sure these cuts, which is pretty good. It's a pretty good flat cut, but what you can do is just put that like that, and I know it's going to sand it flat. That will go in there. That can go down there. So I'm going to glue this and be an end grain. Got to make a really good job of it, only I have also got a second piece of wood going over the top of the leading edge with staggered overlaps. I'm going to put plenty on there for end grain. Plenty there. Don't skimp on end grain wood. That will go on there. I think the first wing worked really well for what it was, but if I'm to try and make this into something a little bit easier to build, possibly, I think it needs to be in something that people are used to using. Right, that's the outside layer of that wing. I've got doublers to go on the leading edge as soon as that's dry enough to unpin. Now this is the top piece, and that's going to go where is that going to go? That go like that, look, it goes on top of there, so the joins are staggered. And that goes right over the front of those two joins. And that also goes right over that join. And this join is perhaps more important, being at the root is completely staggered from the bottom one. Right, so we'll let all that set. Well, in fact, I'm not going to. I'm going to try and draw some ribs now and get those in. I've just placed the ribs in, sitting in place. And it's given the wing real shape. I love it. Now, I sort of drew a bit of 1/4 inch square at the bottom there, but I'm thinking it would look rather fantastic if I had a piece of, I think it might be 1/4 square. Anyway, put it round the top like that. Nice arched Da Vinci style piece of style in there. All I've got to do is go and steam it over the kettle, bend it into that shape, and then I'm going to offer it into position and cut the slots. And I might put a straight one underneath, but well, almost certainly. But anyway, first of all, I'm going to go and steam that. I've steamed the top spar. Just hold it over the kettle for a couple of minutes and then take it away and let it cool, and it'll roughly hold the shape. But I'm going to stick the ribs in using white glue on the faces, and I'm going to use CA on the bit where it joins the wing. The reason being I can crack on with getting these top spar in without having to wait for glue to set or anything. So oops, that's coming out already. Put a little bit down there. I made the ribs out of 1/8 in the end. It's not really hard balsa, but section is a sort of a, well, flat bottom. I wouldn't even call it a Clark wire, to be honest. It's just wing rib shape drawn up just if it looks right. It is right. And don't forget the prototype flew with just a very crude wing shape, didn't it, that was formed in the covering material. Thinking this is going to look rather cool with clear covering. More than rather cool. Look amazing. I know normally you would slot these for the main spar, but I'm making it up as I go. I know roughly what I want to do in my head, so, but I'm not sure exactly where things are going to be sitting and how it's going to be looking, so hence this sort of measure, cut, fit approach. Right, so my plan has worked. They're stuck in enough to work on, so let's have a look at this main spar. It's got to go down to that point. Because the top of the ribs are about there. That looks fantastic, actually. Put a mark there, a mark there, and as it's there, I'll put a mark there, and a mark there. Okay, this is exciting. What I'm going to do is to make a file using this piece of wood. Oops. This is a little trick we use on the free flight models, or any model really. But it works very well. You just stick a bit of wood onto a bit of glass, sandpaper, glass paper, and then trim it off. This is now the exact width of the spar, because it is the spar, and all I need to do is to place this on the rib at the correct angle and just take it down until it's just above the top of the rib, because I have to take into account the thickness of the sandpaper. Which is not very thick actually. And there should be the perfect slot for the main spar. Okay, I'll do the others and be right back. Let's pop that in, see what happens. Pop it in, and this end is the one that I'm going to get a little bit close like that. And I'm going to pin it as well. And that whole lot can be sanded down to one smooth shape. Looking at this, I've had an idea. You've had an idea, Cliff? Tell us more. Well, it occurs to me that this end, if I was to put a spar here, it'll come all the way to the area of this one, and that would be a very strong point. I'm talking about underneath now, by the way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark on each rib where I've got to sand using a little sanding thing that I made. Let's unpin it. It's been a couple of hours, so it should be dry enough. It's always exciting unpinning a structure for the first time, because it goes, you know, into a 3D thing. Now that's interesting, the way that's springing up. I guess I'm not surprised. And that might be a reason to definitely put a spar in on the bottom to try and hold things a little bit flatter. There's a bit of tension. There's a bit of a tension in that. Yeah, it's rocking. At least it's rocking the right way. In other words, I've got a bit of curvature to the wing in the right direction. Look at that. Is that a gorgeous shape or what? Right, let's offer up the spar. Got to make it fit in that corner, of course. Look at that, beautiful, beautiful. That'll glue that in there, in there, in there, in there, and in there. I'm using aliphatic resin from Deluxe Materials. There we are. That's one wing complete. Tomorrow I'll take it off and get the other one sanded up. Although, I'll tell you what I could do. I could put that on another surface to dry overnight. It's only going to be a flat surface. And I can get the other wing shaped up tonight. What's the time? 10 o'clock. Should we do that? What I'm going to do then, guys, I'll crack on with that. And I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll just see how far I get. If you're enjoying the build so far, tap that little subscribe button down below. It helps to support my channel and spread the word of model aeroplanes. And oh, did I mention it costs nothing to subscribe? Thanks, guys. All right, I've got the second wing laid up, but I was just looking at the first one. I've just sanded it, rounded up a bit, sanded all the edges, and I just thought it's a little bit whippy, but I've got these two offcuts of 1/4 inch squares, so I've just cut them to sit in there. Because the wing is built up now and the tailplane isn't, I'm going to cut out an opening and then I'm going to cover it. So I've drawn a rough pencil line on here of the shape, just wondering if I ought to have a rounded corners. Might make it sort of a little more stylish, a little harder to make perhaps, but when Cliff Harvey cuts a corner, you don't see him cutting corners. I'm going to use a Chinese coin, don't know what it is. About right curve, that's a nice curve. Yeah, why not, eh? So let's position it accordingly. We'll worry about cutting it out in a minute. I think actually I could use my Dremel on that, couldn't I? That'd look nice, look at that. You can't beat a nice curve. Of course I'll have to strengthen it a little bit with some diagonal cross braces. Oh well, at least it's on the bottom. Nobody will know. Nobody will know. Clip's a bodger. Now, cutting grain, you've got to cut away from it. You've got to always think if it's going to split, as long as it splits into the wood you're cutting off. If I cut it this way and it splits, it's going to split into my good wood. So I shall cut it this way. It's not quite so easy because I've got the tailplane under my wrist now, but that's the important bit. I can always cut the rest coming from the other side. Yeah, it should pop out. There we go. Elegant, elegant, but prone to warping now when I cover it. So I'm going to do these corners, and I'm going to put in some diagonals, maybe 2, and there it is. cut out and a couple of little strengtheners. I think that looks much nicer. Delicate. Right, let's do a mock-up photo, which I'll put up here. And next job I'll be working on the fuselage a bit more. I've made a little plywood box to go around the leading edge. Put a bit of ply on the bottom to reinforce it, and a little angled block. It's not a block, it's an angled bit at the front. I've just got two little plywood reinforcement doublers I'm going to put on there because I found on the Mark 1 it was split in there, so and I'm going to put those on with CA. Put a little bit in there, wind it in a bit. Okay, there we are, and that will reinforce that quite nicely, I think. It's only 16th ply, but if that breaks then I was doing something silly. Just got to make up something for the back. I've offered up this piece of balsa. I've angled it a little bit just to sort of suggest that that might be the way forward. I'll show you what I've done. Let me go back a little bit. We'll go in there. Nice tight fit in the box. And then I've got this piece of angled wood that goes at the back here. On the other one I put a pin, just a wooden pin, bit of dowel through there, which stops it from coming out. But I did find the back was coming out a little bit like that, so it might be an idea to use a pin or something through there. But that box sets the dihedral, which is about very roughly, I think it's only about 1.5 inches, 5 centimeters under each tip, but that's quite solid, so I'm happy with that. So as long as the back end I can fasten in, then we're going to be in business. And I've also had an idea about the wing as well. I'm going to cut another rib, a half rib, because this one's going to be really dished. These will be dished as well, but this is the one I might put a half rib in there, but a half rib. And then I thought normally it would go down onto a lower spar, but I don't want to fill it up with spars. So I thought it might look quite snazzy if I put a rib in here and then taper it down to that spar. So you've got this sort of triangular rib affair going on. I'll cut one, see how it looks. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll be back shortly. Right, I've put a bit of ply on the bottom of that and a bit of ply in the fuselage, so I can just drill a hole and put a pin in. But it's just working on this middle rib. That's the sort of thing I'm thinking of. I think that looks okay. Bit different. This one will go concave a bit in the middle, and so will this one, but this is the main sort of lifting area. So not too bad. I'll cut another template out and put that one in. You see it's quite a good fit in there. There we go. I had to bring it up a little bit in the middle because this actually bows up. Because it does, it goes from down to up, so it's higher there than it is there and there. So I have to put a piece of the original wood back in there and there. Actually, I think that's given out sort of a purposeful. I like that. That wing has quite a bit of strength in it, and if it's not that whippy now, so when the covering's on, it's going to be really quite stiff. Right, I'm not putting in the extra rib, so I'm calling that wing done. So it's all clipped in. I've just got to put the little peg holes in to retain them. Wing retainer pegs, in fact, that's what they're called. I'll put the tail on with a rubber band just to hold it, and set the pilot in from Mark 1. Just a bit of fun. Yeah, so the wings are done. Coming up to covering really. Sit the servos in, bolt the motor in. Hardware really. So there we go, guys. If you're looking forward to seeing the covering, then hit the subscribe button and it'll be the very next video. Cheers.